Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. And it's Wise Women's Wednesday, where wise women come out to hang out. I love it. So far, I see Catherine and Jocelyn in the house. There's our girl Doris. Nice to have you here. Sandy's here. Still eating anti-inflammatory, and she never stopped, and that's smart. Because as soon as you stop and you start adding anti-inflammatory foods in, can I just tell you, it is not fun. It is not a fun thing to do. Alice, good to have you here as well. Jane, our ladies are in the house, y'all. So, boy, is your weather cooling down? Ours is cooling down. I don't want cooler weather yet. I'm still summering. I don't know about y'all, but I'm still summering. Jackie, you're here. It's good to have you here. So we got some stuff going on. And of course, I'm going to give you there's a link to our announcements page, but always pay attention to what we have going on every week, because when we trot out those show specials, it's something to take a peek at, especially Carb Cutter. I love me some Carb Cutter. This is white kidney bean extract, which has been researched and shown scientifically to help block the sugar impact that a lot of carbs have. So great. It is so great and so helpful, because, if you're carrying a little extra around your middle's complaining and saying, hey, inflammation, folks. So this is what helps a little bit with that. Denise, hello. It's so good to have you here. And I just saw our Martha too. Hi, Martha. It is a buy one, get one. If you buy one, you are going to get another one absolutely free. savingdinner.com/show. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to give you a full bloom pen. Look, it's hot pink. I love me some hot pink. And hot pink little sticky notes. This one, I'm showing you this one because this was the one that I had on my bookcase, and it's from Full Bloom. Anyway, cute, right? Because now is the point of attraction. I love it. All right. So we have that. I want you to go take a look at it. savingdinner.com/show. If carbs are a problem, now you know how to deal with it, right? Now you know how to deal with it. The other thing that you need to know about that we have, two things. One is our Etsy shop, which has super cute gear like a Full Bloom sweatshirt, for example. Things like that. Stuff you're not going to see in our regular shop, right? Go take a look at it. We will also give you free shipping. If you buy $300 worth of stuff from us, we say thank you. I'm going to tell you what. I am so appreciative of our customers. We've had customers for over 20 years. They keep coming back. I get notes every once in a while on my Facebook page. I've been with you since blah, 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 blah. I remember when your kids were little. And that just warms the cockles of my heart. Thank you. And thank you for being a customer. We're going to give you free shipping on that. That's what we're going to do. The other thing that you need to know, let's see what else. My brain is just kind of on overload. Besides, is there anything else? Oh, Rising Tide. Gosh, don't forget about Rising Tide. That is starting in less than a week. It's happening on the 26th. This is the Rising Tide goal workbook and planner. This is what we're going to be working with. This is going to be the thing to get you through the end of the year spectacularly with goals accomplished. The way that we do it is like nobody else. This is our thing, and it's just very, very effective. So if you would like to join us, go to savingdinner.com/rise and join it. It's a 3-week intensive because it's 2 hours each time. It's on Tuesday nights, and we go through everything. Hot seats. There's going to be a one-on-one with you and you are going to leave there with your goals cinched. We do that on purpose because you know what? I'm a firm believer in helping people to get to the place that they want to get, you know? And if you have somebody on your side, right? Just makes all the difference in the world. Um, I have something. Oh. How about the quote of the week? Do you know the quote of the week? Do you? Let me find it really quick. Um, Here it is. It is, oh, what we could be if we stopped carrying the remains of who we were. Do you do that? I mean, you know, you're a different woman than you were a year ago. Like it or not, you are a different woman than you were a year ago. Are you doing this purposely to become better, to become your more vibrant self? That's what we get to do. That's what we get to do when we make a decision to be that woman. Am I right, Chris? Chris is here. Say hi. I love that part. I love this so much because it gets me into the place of reminding me that I'm growing, I'm evolving, I'm changing, I'm becoming. Vibrancy is mine if I make a decision to be on that path. That's what this quote reminds us of. Stop carrying the remains of who you were. Such a impactful quote. Oh, Nancy said she got a red light and was able to sign in. I just love me some Mother Hen is in the house, y'all. Yay, Mother Hen. All right, let's get down to business because I have got some stuff to talk to you about. Because let me just say this: we have just talked about procrastination. All this week we're talking about fear. We've talked about procrastination. We've talked about overthinking. Today we're going to do something that starts with a P, and tomorrow something that starts with an S. It is POPs for the whole week. POPs. Procrastination, check that box. Overthinking, yeah, that was yesterday. Today, we're going deep. Who's got their seatbelts ready? You got your seatbelt ready? We're gonna go head on into perfectionism. We're gonna discuss this. We're gonna get into the meat of the matter, and we're gonna dig it all out by the root. Hi, Jeanette. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Oh, Jackie's raising her hand. Okay, we can all relate to this. Hey, Noreen. We can all relate to this. But you know what? I want to say something about that. It doesn't mean we have to stay there. So identify all you want with this, but also listen up to the tactics at the end. I've got some great tactics, stuff that you probably have never thought about. And we're going to get there. It is the big P word. It is the big P word. And we are going to say to the big P word, come on, enough's enough. This is not a stranger. Nobody's a stranger to perfectionism at all. And it is perilous, isn't it? It takes us down a path that we don't want to go. I mean, it is the opposite of what vibrancy is. And I like to say all the time, and you hear me say it all the time, we need to go after excellence and not perfectionism. Because when we are going after excellence, it means that we are going and striving for better. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Perfection says, better's not good enough. I need more. It has to be perfect. And that is where we get all hung up. So let's go back to this whole place of humanity. And being a human and being a woman who was flawed, deeply flawed. You, me, us, all of us, deeply flawed. Embrace it. It's just part and parcel. It's just the fact that, have you ever put your foot in your mouth and said something you wished you hadn't said? Have you ever made a mistake and called somebody by the wrong name? Have you ever, can I go through it? Do you have done something you've regretted? Oh, that's humanity right there. That's how humanity operates. We don't do it perfectly. And I'm just saying that. I know, but I have to say it over and over and over again because we need that reminder of this side of glory is where we live. We're not on that other side. We can't take those qualities and bring them here. They don't translate at all. Hey, Kathy. So listen, do you know Anne Lamott? She's an author, wonderful, wonderful author, and I've read several of her books. But I love this quote so much, and this one's going to make your eyes go boing. Okay, perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you insane the rest of your life. Now that's a jaw dropper, isn't it? But it is, because, and then you think about the Einstein quote, at least this was attributed to Einstein, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But that's what perfectionism is too, right? We keep thinking we can get it, we can get there. And then it never comes. And it's because it doesn't exist. Geez. No, no. I just like how so many people overuse it like a wait staff when you order. Oh, perfect. Nails on a blackboard because of being a recovering perfectionist. But I have something to tell Jane. I can piggyback on the back of that and say, but being a recovering perfectionist means that we allow people to say things like perfect and just allow it to be another word. It doesn't have to be a triggering word if we make a decision that it's not. Just saying, just putting it out there. Because I had the same reaction, and then I started saying, that's dumb. Why do I want to do that? Then I'm going to get caught in perfectionism that they're not using this word correctly. Oh, don't you love it? The many shades of perfectionism, the many layers. My word. Anyway, I think what Anne Lamott said was just chef's kiss. Right on the money. Exactly. This is what we do. And it is an oppression. It is an oppression. We know. It puts the thumb down on the vibrancy of your life. It takes away from you. It never gives you anything in return. Those kind of standards do not exist here on planet Earth, at least the planet Earth that I live on. They don't exist. So, when we see this, I mean, that is poignant that she said this, right? That it keeps you insane the rest of your life. It does, because it keeps you chasing after something that's not there, that doesn't exist, that's only a figment of your imagination. It's like, it's like being 6 years old and talking to a pretend friend, except you're, a 58-year-old woman doing the same thing. It doesn't exist. It's not there. And it's detrimental to your well-being, to your mental health, to your body, your soul, everything, your relationships. It comes in and it eats you alive. That's what perfectionism does. It's grounded in fear. It stifles your growth. It takes away innovation and it snatches your happiness away. Am I right? Come on. Pinkies up. We're all in this together, by the way. This is not you do this and you do that and you do this. This is how we see things. This is maybe us all being raised in the same home with the same overbearing parent. I don't know. We've all had different experiences, and for whatever reason, a lot of us have drawn this idea that going after perfect is exactly what it is that we should do, and that if we don't go after perfect, it's not good enough. And if we constantly see things as not good enough, then we're constantly seeing things in a muted tone. We don't see the vibrant color out there in our worlds. It takes away. It removes the joy of living. There's so much to it. So when we understand that it is deeply rooted in fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment from others, all of that, it shackles us into a vicious cycle, is what it does. And that vicious cycle keeps turning and turning and turning, and the years keep going and going and going. And we keep going to this place of hoping that we're going to get there. Never seeing things in the place of like, hey, here we are. Isn't this so terrific? Isn't this so great? Isn't this so wonderful? Because it's not perfect. There's a blemish, there's a flaw. And I have an answer to that, but we'll talk about it here in a minute. But the thing is, this dissatisfaction, the anxiety, and the potentiality of leading to mental health issues, particularly depression. And yeah, it's depressing. Aren't you depressed just listening to what I'm saying? It's depressing. But here's the problem. These effects of perfectionism are endless, and they keep you on this little treadmill, this little cycle like a hamster wheel. And you just keep going around and around and around. And all you're doing is marking time, not creating the life that you want to lead. Because I will tell you that if your idea of this perfect life was out there, you would have attained it by now. You would have. And if we are so easily swayed that we are seeing, television shows and movies and thinking this is the way it should be, I always, what I do? I always watch these movies and I think nobody does that. Nobody says that. When Mark and I will have that discussion. Like, can you imagine? We're watching a TV show, Suits, right now, and Meghan Markle is in it, right? So we all know who Meghan Markle is. And I found it really interesting just how horrible these people are, all these lawyers and everything, and how they argue and they fight and they're just so catty and stuff behind their back. There's no way anybody could live and thrive in that kind of a toxic environment. People would be quitting left, right, and center. It's just not real because they're going after this perfect idea of what this utopian law firm should look like. And it doesn't exist. So here's the thing that we need to look at the effects. What does depression do? Well, I'll tell you one of the big things. It impedes creativity. Because when you're looking for perfect, you're not looking for creative ways to do something. You're looking at this certain ideal and it has to be a certain way. That's what perfectionism does. And when everything has to be a certain way, you find yourself, if you're living with that person who's like that, walking on eggshells. You find yourself in a tenuous place where you just feel like there's nothing I can say or do or because it won't be good enough. It won't be perfect because I can't do it. And you give up, right? It's depressing. It's sad. It's the end of a friendship or a relationship, or it's just a huge impediment to a relationship. You know what it does? Perfectionism does to a person? It makes them rigid and unflexible. It makes them so that it's just their way or the highway. And is that fun to be around a person like that? Ever done that? It's miserable is what it is. And I will tell you right now, the person going after perfectionism and going after this perfect utopian life is one miserable person too. And they're taking everybody down with them. That's what happens. They have no growth in their life. It takes the fear of making a mistake will stop personal growth. I actually had someone who was I would say she wasn't a recovering perfectionist. She was a perfectionist. And she said she just never would read personal development books, right? I was like, why? And she said, well, I can't because I don't want to see what it is. I don't want to see what those things are. I want to figure them out for myself. Talk about perfectionism. That's crazy. And what does that do? I mean, it stops us from taking any kind of risk. It stops us from personal growth and development because we thrive off of one another and with one another. We're meant to live like that. That's part of the community spirit. It's part of our sisterhood. It's huge. This is huge. But it mostly compromises well-being mentally, physically, emotionally. It rocks your world and it leads to burnout on every level. Burnout here at work, burnout at home, burnout physically, burnout mentally, emotionally. Where do you go? Where do you go with that? What can you do with perfect? We don't have the capacity to handle it. Do you remember the firm? What was it? A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. You remember that? That was Jack Nicholson. Well, we can't handle the truth either. We perfectionists. We can't. And we can't handle our lives. We can't handle our emotions. We can't handle anything because we're bound up with this idea that this is supposed to be like this. And it's just plain not. And it never will be. It can't be. It just can't. So, how do we combat this? Well, you know what I think it is? And I remember I call them Edison moments. You think about, somebody famous who's failed famously over and over and over again until finally got to where they needed to go. And that is to embrace the imperfect, embrace the flaws, and to see it with different eyes. And you can do that when you make a decision to do that, right? It's all a matter of perspective. And if you see something like, I remember Barbara Streisand, they asked her incessantly, why didn't you fix your nose? And she was like, I like my nose. Thank you very much. Cindy Crawford, one of the most beautiful women in the world, they, asked her about her mole over and over again. And she said, it's part of who I am. It's part of her flawed beauty. Flawed, but beautiful at the same time. Imagine that. So when we embrace imperfection, we understand that making mistakes is natural and essential part of growth. How else do you grow until you learn what not to do? I play pickleball. You know that. Today I had a big day. I had a lesson, and then I played for 2 hours. So I had 3 hours out on the pickleball court, and I was done at the very end. Let me just tell you, that's a lot of working out, right? That's a lot. But I learned today a strategy on how to get something that I couldn't get before. I was stuck on something. And Don, the guy who teaches the pickleball lesson, he's like, no, this is what you need to do. And it was so helpful, to do an overhead smash successfully. If you've done it in tennis, and I used to do this in tennis, but you kind of mark the ball, you come up and then you whack it, but your hand is like almost like pointing at the ball. We can do that in our lives too. If you keep hitting and missing, then do something different, right? You won't be perfect, but you can start looking at how can I do this more excellently? And when we start to ask ourselves, how can I do this more excellently? Then we let go of perfectionism and then we allow for growth, because perfect holds everything back. It does. It is handcuffs on growth, handcuffs on potential and possibility. It takes it all away. So here's some strategies on combating this evil, which it really is. The first one you've heard, I'm sure, self-compassion. Start with loving yourself enough to say, look, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's not great. But if you can embrace that and say, you know what? Okay, so it's terrible and it's not great, but it's okay. This is what I learned from it. This is where we pull out the experience file. Those are the lessons. The lessons are there to teach, and the teaching is there for us to grow. And as we grow, we become more vibrant, more excited and enthusiastic about our lives. The spark and the joy comes back. This is big stuff, you guys. And the other thing is realistic goal setting. I mean, set goals, but not so much that your pants are on fire if you don't do it just a certain way. I used to do that all the time. I'd say, okay, so, I'd go from couch potato to training for the Olympics. And what would happen? 4 days in, I'd be like, I'm dying here. This is not working. This is too hard, because I went from zero doing nothing to perfection in my athletic endeavors. And it always led to burnout. Why don't we cut ourselves some slack, self-compassion? Why don't we set some goals that say, hey, you know what? You're a human. Let's do this together. Let's go slowly on this. Let's give you a break. Let's do something that is, yeah, it's going to cause you to have to do a little hard work, but you've got this. You can do this. Adding in that self-compassion every time. We know those things, but how about some weird ones, you know? Well, first of all is the imperfect celebration. I love this one so much. What do you think? So, if we can celebrate those imperfections and those mistakes and just say, hey, call a friend. Guess what I just did? Guess what I just did? I just destroyed I was just thought I had this. I thought I understood what I was doing. But had it all wrong and I got to start over. Maybe you're on a craft project. Maybe you had a sweater that you were crocheting or knitting or whatever, and you just like realized you missed something at this big hole. Instead of beating yourself up and kicking yourself and saying this is terrible and throwing it away, or I've got to take it all out or whatever, celebrate it, laugh at it, cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break. Remember the Edison moments? Same thing. The other one that you can do is the first bad draft. Okay, let's say you have an idea for something. Let's say you are doing something at work and your boss has said, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is too hard, it's too whatever. Do the first bad draft. Get the first bad draft out. Get it out. The whole goal isn't that you're going to hand in this perfect thing. It's that you just need to scribble down some stuff and get it out. This is really good for your brain, by the way, because then you can look at it and you can go, okay, well, this is all out of order. I need to move this all around. I need to get rid of this altogether. And you know what? I didn't think about this. That's what this allows for. It gives you creative abilities, and it gives you permission to be creative because at least we've got the junk out of the way, right? Do that. I love that. I do that all the time. Let me tell you, that's saved my bacon so many times. And remember yesterday, we talked about the absurdity challenge. We talked about it. Do things imperfect on purpose and laugh about it, hit the ball weird and just say, wow, look at that, allow for that. Allow for that. Because when we do, we embrace the absurdity and we have the ability to laugh at it. We know what to do next. We know how to fix it. We know how to make it better. And we release that need for control, by the way, too. Because what do you think perfectionism is? Super controlling, isn't it? So here's how to win against perfectionism. Number one is identify your triggers. What are your triggers? Recognize them. We all have them. And, there's something that fosters those perfectionistic tendencies. Maybe you're a perfectionist about some things and not about others. Maybe you need to have, a little more latitude here and you need to take a chill pill there. Look at that and just see what are your triggers and look at how you can respond to them differently next time. Number two is to embrace vulnerability. When we're vulnerable, we're going to make mistakes, right? It's risky. But when we're vulnerable and we make mistakes, we see ourselves in a different light, a lot more tenderly. The same way we saw our babies, the same way that we look with love at our spouse, the same way, tender, caring, gentle, patient. All of these come in, and that's what embracing vulnerability is about. And then the last one, is to seek therapy if you need to. I'll tell you, there's nothing more comforting than to be in a safe environment to work some of this garbage out, because some of it's deeply rooted in childhood trauma or whatever it is, and I'm certainly not qualified to talk about any of that, except, I've endured it too. You have. We all have. Nobody gets out of this unscathed. You weren't raised by perfect parents. Far from it. None of us were, by the way. None of us were. So if we look at perfection then as being the oppressor, the enemy, holding you hostage and preventing you from reaching your potential, then we have only, we have to start thinking about strategies that are going to take that all away, because that's not what we want. We're after excellence. We're after vibrancy. We're after living a fully bloomed life. And we can't do that with the shackles of perfection around our ankles and around our wrists. We can't do that. We can't move. we can't do a thing. So I just want you to remember something, though. It's not an overnight thing. It's a noticing thing. It's becoming aware of it. It's making a decision that I'm going to take a step. Just a step is fine. Because you know what? Every step counts. Every step counts. So embrace the imperfect you. It's all you got. That's a hint. It's all you got. It's all I have is imperfect me. But I'm going to tell you this, that if you pursue excellence and leave perfection behind, you're going to find the vibrancy that you're looking for. You'll be right on that vibrant path, and you're going to feel like a completely different woman. And you'll think like one too. And that's always a good thing for a wise woman, don't you think? Anyway, that's it. Tomorrow, holy cow, we're going to get into it a little bit on self-sabotage. You don't want to miss tomorrow. Your eyes are going to go boing like that. Oh, you're so welcome, Jackie. Listen, if you have missed any of the announcements, go check them out at savingdinner.com/announcements. And as always, if you ever need a thing from me, I'm your cheerleader. Reach out. Support at savingdinner.com. I'm always there for you. And I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for joining me today. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.